My power.
Hey, folks.
Oh, I was dancing.
I figured that'd be a good song choice. I'm on my Black is
It
King
was.
mode. Well, peace, everybody. Peace, peace, peace. I'm the guy with the bow tie checking in with you live for another edition of Business of Benefits. To my right, you see the woman that's always dancing on LinkedIn, Veronica Owusu. How you doing, Veronica?
I'm doing great, Daryl. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Yeah, that song Black is King. If you guys haven't seen Black is King, watch
Oh
that.
boy, I'm gonna have to download that one. I
Yeah,
love it.
good visual album. I thought that song would be perfect. Well, want to catch up with comments real quick and let you guys know thank you if you're hashtag team live, hashtag team replay, however you watch and consume the content. We appreciate it. Please let us know in the comments and where you're watching from. And we had Catherine jumped in early. She's a great music. So thanks, Catherine, out there in Florida. Wayne says he likes rock and roll. So thanks, Wayne, for the rock and
Wayne.
roll. Wayne looks good for some comments. And Marlon, hey, Marlon, thanks, King. Said team partially live. May need to jump on the call. That's fine. That is totally fine. So Veronica, you and I saw through your dance post. Basically, you're dancing on LinkedIn, putting positive energy out there, and
Yes.
then I saw you on one of Lila's. We had I don't know what you to call it, group coaching.
Verb your vibe, Lila. All the way.
Yeah,
If you haven't taken part in that workshop, I highly recommend it.
yeah. Shout out to Lila. That I just jumped on. She said you need to do this. I'm like, I think I'm busy. Like, you need to do this. Like, okay, I'll be there. But then I saw you on. I said, you know what? Let's work on doing a live together. So for the people that don't know who you are, let them know what you do and why you're so happy on LinkedIn.
Oh boy, what I do? Well, okay, so what most people, right? What most people know me for is being a deep diver. I'm a deep dive personal growth coach, right? And I always love to create and start manifesting from within. We always manifest our outside world starting from the inner world. So I'm a deep diver. Most people know me for that. And most people know that, okay, I'm also a course creator. I help passionate service-based business owners create their online courses, boost up their visibility, find their tribe, rise up, vibe, and thrive. So that's what most people know me for. What
Okay.
most people, right, don't know me for is I'm a mom of two. I've got two little kids, Philip and Olympia. And even though maybe some do, most people, I'm sure your audience, don't know that I love dancing.
And you're in the
Right.
UK. We made the connection across the pond. It's around 9 o'clock your time and 4 o'clock here.
Yes, it is 5, 6 minutes past 9 o'clock. Yes.
Well, perfect. So let's dive into that. So VPower is your
Mm.
coaching business, and you talk about unleashing a warrior. So let's break that down. What does it mean for someone to unleash their warrior, and what actually is their warrior?
Oh boy. Let's go deep, shall we?
Let's go.
VPower started 9 years ago. And Daryl, I used to live in Poland. I was born and raised in Ghana, right?
Okay.
And I moved to Poland. I did my master's in educational sciences. I was a teacher. Then we ventured into business. We set up two companies, an import-export company. We were importing natural unrefined shea butter from Ghana to Poland. We had this web development branding agency. We were doing things. Things were happening.
Mm-hmm.
But funny enough, it was in that moment really that I realized I wasn't that confident. I never really truly believed in myself. I always doubted and felt, you know what, Veronica, let the guys handle this. You're not smart enough, or you're not good enough. And this dated back to when I was 8 years old, and a seed was planted in my mind. I was sitting in the corner of the vice principal's office. I'd been sent there because I'd failed my English oral test. And the teacher said, you need to go to the vice principal's office. And I sat there in the corner crying my eyes out. Out of the whole 30 children, I was the only one who didn't pass. What a failure you are. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. And about 30 minutes sitting in that corner, tears trickling down my eyes, I planted a seed, Daryl. I planted a seed that I wasn't smart enough. So fast forward in my early 20s, when we set up this business, I had this inner belief. I had no idea it dated back to when I was 8, but I wasn't smart enough. And when I should have said no, I said yes. When I said yes, when I should have said no, and I was so passive. living somebody else's dream, living up to somebody else's expectation of who you should or shouldn't be. So when the time came when things started spiraling down, Daryl, like in business sometimes happens, I found myself one day, Daryl, standing in front of a pawnbroker's shop, selling my precious belongings because our companies had been declared bankrupt. And as I stood there in front of this guy, right, holding my precious belongings in one hand and about to pass it over, I feel this lump in my throat. It's squeezing, it's like choking, and I know what I'm about to say is life-changing. I know this is a moment which I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. And as I speak about this, I get goosebumps because it was in that moment I heard her. I heard the little voice. She was broken. She was hurt. She was in pain. She was caged. My warrior. And I heard, Veronica, are these the kind of choices you want to be making? What are your parents going to think about you? Is this how you want to show up for your kids? Back then, I didn't have any kids, I know. But is this the kind of example that you want to leave with your kids? Is it kind of legacy? No, the answer is a hell no. This is not what I wanted. And I believe, Daryl, if you ask about VPower, the VPower once felt V-powerless. And it was in that moment that I really, and I say really, made a choice and really made a decision. Because we make decisions, then we don't really pull up, we don't really stick to them, or we change our minds. But that was the moment where VPower was born, because I made myself a promise that, Veronica, you are never, ever going to have to be in that situation again. Because it was like, no, this is it. So the question was, all right. So she's recognized herself, right? The warrior. She's now speaking to me. Okay, so now what do you want? What do you want for yourself? For so long, you've been living somebody else's dream. For so long, you've been living somebody else's expectation of who you should be or shouldn't be. What is it that you want now? What is your legacy? What do you want to leave behind? What imprint do you want to leave in this world?
I like it. You can just pump from the jump. I like it.
Yeah, I speak so passionately because it's like I feel it. And at that time, I was pretty much broken. My marriage was pretty much on the rocks from all that had happened. And I'm like, I need to take charge of my bloody life, Veronica. And that's where I stepped into that energy of VPower. But that meant a long journey.
Yeah.
Right? A long journey, which I wish I had a coach back then. Like, really? I wish I had somebody back then 9 years ago to really guide me and kind of, because it didn't have to take so long. But yeah, finding yourself, finding your voice, finding your truth doesn't have to take so long, with the guidance, of course, of somebody. But I immersed myself into personal development. I stumbled upon this book. I say it was actually destined, because that week after the pawnbroker's shop, I stumbled upon this book, Conversations with God by N. Donald Walsh.
Okay.
And nothing religious, ironically, but it opened my world. It opened my world. It had questions and answers. I was like, whoa. So my teachers didn't want anything bad for me. It was me all along. All those thoughts I thought were real, all those stories I told myself, that was my creation. Me standing in front of the pawnbroker's shop, that was my creation. I created that into my reality. Bloody hell, yes, I did.
Yeah, true.
So the question is, okay, so what do I want to now create? Let's play. What do I want to create? And that's when it started. So I immersed myself in personal development, reading. I didn't know I was reprogramming my mind then. I didn't know it was called reprogramming. I didn't know it was called planting seeds. I didn't know it was called rewiring, but I immersed myself. I read, I listened, and I was like, this is it. I loved it so much. So I used to be a teacher as well. So, inspiring, impacting was something which was ingrained in me naturally. Yeah. And then fast forward, coaching found me when I moved to the UK. And I was like, this is it.
So let's break that back. I got some questions for you. And audience, if you have questions, yeah, and Veronica, for people, if you have questions for Veronica, this is your chance to ask her a question to find out things for her. Comments real quick, Tamara. She's Team Live. Thank you, Queen, for being Team
Tamara,
Live.
Hello.
Floyd saying he's Team Live. Thanks for jumping in, Floyd. Doug with layman's terms. He's Team Live. Thank you, Doug. He's a great guy. And then a comment from Marlon, family, nice, really kids, and your energy is virtually infectious. We only need virtually infectious. We don't need real infections right now.
Energy has no boundaries.
Yeah, and Catherine said, oh my God, you're like most women. Try being a CEO of a major medical facility and truly doing it.
Absolutely.
And she also even said, my daughter just completed her MBA in analytics from NYU Stern. We pass it on. Don't let anyone tell you can't become what you want to do.
Absolutely.
There you go, Catherine. And that's a good way to segue into the question I had. So there's always in mental health, there's coaches and there's therapy, and they have different outcomes. So for you, would you say that the path you went on or the issue you had, therapy would have helped that, or you generally think a coach was the best idea for what you had going on for you?
Yeah. So therapy, what is therapy? It really digs into the past, right? The person, the therapist, doesn't necessarily have to have been there.
Mm-hmm.
You're with me, right? The therapist doesn't necessarily have to have been there in that space that you're currently facing, in that darkness that you're currently in. The person just trying to find out exactly what happened in the past and how that is connected and try and find a way through it. With coaching, we focus on the future. We focus on what we can create moving forward. And yes, limiting beliefs do come up as we do not take action like we're supposed to, as we are so fearful of certain things, as we create these patterns in our lives. And then you can try and figure out where that comes from. What is the story? So with therapy, with me, the therapy is like there's something wrong with you. Coaching, there's nothing wrong with you. We're perfectly fine despite our imperfections. We are perfectly made from perfect love. So we're perfect in love. One of my mentors told me that. I said, oh, but I'm not perfect. Bloody hell, Veronica, you are perfect. You're made from perfect love. So yes, we have humanly imperfections, but the make from which we were kind of created is out of true love. So if you're talking about therapy and coaching, it all depends. I'm not going to say do this or do that. This is wrong. This is right. There's no wrong or right answer. For me, therapy would not have been the best choice because there was nothing wrong with me. Mm-hmm. Right? There's nothing. It was more about really identifying the thoughts that were going through my mind that time and focusing on exactly what you wanted.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's about focusing on the future, creating from the present and creating what it is that you want to create, setting those goals, having that clarity, having that focus, and really blazing your way through what it is that you want to create and manifest into your life.
That makes sense. It's good to kind of get that framing of past versus future, because I mean,
Absolutely.
There's always questions.
That's the difference. Therapy is all about the past mainly.
Yep.
Okay, so you figure it out. So I had these experiences, I had these things. Okay, so what next?
So they kind of had to work in tandem. I mean, it's kind of almost like it'd be good to have both in the best case scenario. But is that why you chose Warrior? Because the Warrior is about going forward. I mean, Warriors don't go back and hash things out. So is that why you chose Warrior as your image?
Yes. So the Warrior is about serving, and I'm a servant leader, right? Being a teacher and educator for so many years, for over 10 years back in Poland, I was all about serving, giving of myself. You see, the Warrior, as strong as she is, or as strong as he is, he has compassion. He's humbled. He's been through shit. She has been through a lot. And you know what? She's triumphed through something. She has a story that the world needs to hear. And her people are those that are going through what she's gone through. So she's the best person to scoop them from where they are at and scoop them up so that they can rise along with her, so that they can rise together. The Warrior is there to serve her tribe. She loves her tribe. She wants to take their suffering away because she has suffered. She knows what it means not to know who you are. She knows what it feels when you have lost every single thing and what is left after everything that you've identified yourself with cease to exist. If I ask you, who are you? If everything that you currently have is lost, who are you then? What is left? And really tapping into that space is where the warrior spirit comes from. Mm-hmm. She doesn't serve from the material world. She serves from passion, the fire, the blaze, because she's passionate about helping her tribe. And I say her tribe because she can't help every single body. Is that possible? She can help those that she's been through a journey, and she can help those that are on the same journey. And that's why I mainly work with uprising coaches, consultants, service-based business owners, because they're on a journey as well. And I was also, when I started my coaching, we train as a coach. Yes, we're coaches. Crickets, crickets. Like, okay, let's go to the corporate world. They say that's where the money is. Okay. I'm like, but I'm not a corporate kind of girl. I've always been a teacher. I've been with the kids. I've been with the students. I've been with the pupils, the teenagers, the young adults. I'm more of a fun person, Is that my space? I think that's somebody else's story. And there's another warrior out there who should serve more powerfully that space. My space is different. These, like the clients that I have, they're passionate. They're empowering people. They're also servant leaders. But they just lack sometimes the focus, the clarity, sometimes the doubt. And I know exactly what that feels like when you don't know who you're serving. Like, so how do you show up powerfully? The warrior itself, yes, but she needs the tools. She needs her tools. What are the tools? For me, the tools that I had to find, I had to equip myself with the tools. So after I became a coach, they didn't really teach us about marketing. They didn't really teach us about, messaging and how to content create. I had to do my own courses. I did marketing courses. Like I told you earlier on, I did even Brian Tracy's 6-figure speaker. I was like, I'm going to be a speaker. I need to do that course. About 3 years ago, I signed up on his online course. I did it. Lisa Nichols, storytelling, signed up. I did her course. I needed to find a way of, I had a story.
Yeah.
Right? Train the Trainer with Jack Canfield.
Yep.
Oh, and I was doing it for myself. I wasn't doing it with the intention of, but after you have equipped yourself and now you're showing up and now you're having those clients and now you're serving and now you're growing, that's gold dust. That's your package. That's knowledge. That's experience. So I felt I needed to package that now, all that I've been through, that I've learned, and create this toolbox, this formula.
And we're going to definitely dig into that formula. I don't want to cut you off. I want to make sure Christian had a good question for you real quick.
Oh, okay.
Christian Brown said, you talked a little bit about finding your voice. Can you speak more to that? In particular, how do you find your voice and make it relevant to others? That's probably the more powerful question. Find your voice and make it relevant to others. So Let's break that down for Christian. He's a young man trying to do big things.
Yes. So your story is no longer yours to own. Let me start from that.
Okay.
What you've been through, you've been through. What has happened, it's happened. So how do you give meaning? By sharing your story, by using it as an instrument to empower others. And that's how you find your tribe. Because mind you, your story is not going to resonate with every single body. Your story is not going to be, touched by every single body's heart. But that's how you find your truth, and that's how you find your tribe. When you speak your truth of your triumphs, of your setbacks, of your failures, of your upcoming, and your how you rose and how you fell and how you rose again, and all the things, your all-time low, your all-time highs, and you share that. That's how you find your voice. The question is, how do you find your voice? You find your voice in your story and in your truth. I had to literally, and you say, how do you do that? How do you find your voice in your truth? Like, what does that even mean? Well, I call it the Warrior Authority Biography, and this is what I use in my programs. It's literally like a spider web map that really creates a whole visual of every single thing that you're made of. Not only your career, not only your expertise, not only your roles, but your passions, your interests, your secret sauce, all that thing. You're like, whoa, that's big. And you realize that we're so much greater than you ever imagined. So you use that and you package that into a story and tell the story when it's relevant. And how do you make it matter to others, you asked? Well, it's not going to matter to everybody, like I said, but it will matter to the people that you want to serve. And the people that you want to serve are usually the people that are experiencing the same thing that you have been through. That's why they say who your ideal client is. It never stuck to me. It never stuck to me. And I'll say that, and I can say it 1,000 times, so it will not stick with everybody. Your ideal client is you.
I like that.
Listen, I've heard this many times. It never stuck. I was like, what do you mean it's me? Come on. I'm like, all right, let's look again. Okay, so maybe, Jared, let me tell you a story. I used to be a mompreneur coach. I'm like, what the hell? This was like 3 years ago. Over 3 years ago, I remember even watching a video recently, and I was looking at my archive videos. I was still pregnant with Olympia.
Okay.
And I was doing this video, I'm like, coaching moms. I'm like, well, yeah, okay. But then where's the story in that? There was a misalignment. That wasn't my calling. There was a misalignment. When you feel that, what am I going to talk about? What content am I going to create? What am I going to talk about in the video? That's a sign that there's a slight misalignment. Maybe that's not your calling. Maybe that's not your tribe. Maybe that's not your ideal client. It didn't last long, obviously.
Okay, so that's a good thing to break down. You're saying if you can't figure out, if you're struggling to figure out your content and what to do, something's off. Either the people you're talking to or within you. That's your breakdown.
Within you, it's usually within you, because there's a misalignment with the people that you're trying to speak to. You don't really know them. You don't really know them. You don't really know their pains. You don't really know their frustrations. I know my clients' pains because that client is me. All the clients I have had, I love so dearly, Daryl. I love them. I love them. The men and the women, I've even told, I love you because you are me. It's like, how can I not? And that is the joy, because you are me and I am you and we are we. And there's so much passion, there's so much drive, there's so much care, there's so much friendship, and we're creating together. So so when 3 years ago when I set up I was a mompreneur coach and trying to help moms, but I was like, find balance in your life between children but set up your own business. But I've never really experienced that. I don't know what that means. I'm like, I'm fine with my children. I don't. So I was kind of like, what am I gonna do? Right. So that was the beginning stages, and then slowly and surely you will evolve as a coach. You evolve, and it becomes an art. Once you put your soul into it, you put your story into it, you put your mind, your energy, it becomes an art.
And then it's not work. It's just part of you. It's not like you're doing anything separate. That's just you being you.
That you said. It's not work as such. It's just part of you, and you're in front of somebody and you're having experience with this person.
Yeah, and Floyd, you got Floyd with that. Floyd put out there, the passion is thick. I completely forgot what I was doing and got drawn into the conversation. So
I love that. Floyd, wow, yes.
That's what's important about catching people, though. And EP,
nice
jumping in EP.
My girl.
And then somebody, this is Danique Blake. She said, 100% your ideal client is you. Sell what you need.
Yes. And you know what? I will say, I can say it today 100 times, so not everybody will get it. You know why?
Why is that?
Because not everybody knows who they are.
Mm.
Okay? It's that simple.
Yeah, if you don't know who you are, you don't know your client is, basically.
And that's why, of course, when I talk about my program, it's not just for you to create an online course. And, because online creation is like, I've done that for years back in Poland, creating courses and programs. I can sit with you for 2-3 days and we can do it. But we dig deeper. Who are you? Your story, right? Your warrior story, your warrior gold dust, all that. And how do you really package that? How do you see the greatness that you have within you? How do you identify what and how you can connect the dots and create, this passion or this clarity on who it is that you really want to serve and how you can serve this person based on your story, based on who you are. So there's an alignment. So that when the time comes for you to show up, you show up. And when the time comes for you to rise up, you rise up. And when the time comes for you to vibe at that same frequency, you will vibe. There's no question about that, because you are in alignment with your ideal client. You there's like, what is it called? The umbilical cord. Like you're connected somehow in some dimension. I told you I was deep, right? I told you I was deep.
No, but that's good, because these are things that, and guys, ask questions. Because this is awesome content you're getting already from Veronica. But it's important to get deep, because I didn't think about that at first, but when I first started making content, it felt natural because that's who I was. Before I started putting music into my content and all that, it felt contrived sometimes. Or like, I guess I'm making a video. But now when it's like stuff I care about, it's me, it just feels like I'm just making a video. Like, it's just casual. Like, you're just watching me. You're not actually seeing me make content. You're just seeing me, and that's definitely
Yeah.
important. And Wayne put a good question. He said, "How long did it take you to realize you were misaligned?" That's a good
Oh,
question for people.
very good question. Not too long, because I was always hopping. When you realize that you're always hopping from one place to another and one client kind of to another, you're always changing things and always kind of figuring out what next, or okay, maybe let me try this. That is a sign, right? So really, it took me a few months really to see that the mompreneur thing is not for me. I wasn't consistent. I wasn't consistent there. I wasn't. And I'm consistent today because this is it. Like, this is the real deal. There are things that I've done in the past that never really lasted because I wasn't into it. It wasn't me. Like, it never really lasted. But when you do find your magic dust, I call it the gold dust. You're made up of gold dust. And when it comes together, you have this gold nugget that you have and you give to the world.
So would you say being deep helps? I mean, not even being deep, but it takes a lot of inflection to do that. Because if you don't really look at yourself and look at the way you feel, it probably takes longer. Because I mean, you said you're deep, but I can imagine some of the men on this are like, I've been jumping jobs for 20 years and it just paid the bills, and they didn't think about that.
So what a life to live. I mean, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay with you. Listen, as long as it's okay with you and you're not complaining. Cool. But if you start to complain, that's a sign that, what does complaining really mean? It means you have, that there's something better out there, because you wouldn't complain if you wouldn't compare it to something better out there, right? If there wasn't any, we don't complain about air. Oh, there's not enough air, or there's better air or something else. Maybe actually sometimes in the city is more polluted, but you don't really complain about gravity.
Yeah.
Right? Because it just is. But when you start complaining about your state and your life and all that, then that is a sign that you're not happy with the state of things. Well, there's a story about the young boy and his grandfather sitting in the porch, and he's looking at this dog sitting on a nail, and the dog is moaning. It's like, what's wrong, Grandpa, with this dog? It doesn't seem like it's very happy. And the grandfather said, well, there's a nail that is, it's sitting on. And the boy asked, why doesn't it just stand up and move and sit somewhere else? Well, the pain it's not painful enough. It's not hard enough. It's not that deep. The pain is just enough to sit on that and just, moan sometimes. So yeah, for me, the nail was deep.
So Wayne, I guess it depends on how long that nail's been bugging you. If the nail isn't bugging you, it could take forever.
Yes, I was back then in Poland over 9 years ago. I was broken. I was betrayed. I was broke. I was every single thing, and it was only me. So the question is, okay, Veronica.
I love you getting deep.
They say you can only take your clients as deep as you have been, right? Oh, there's a question.
Yeah, that's a good comment, because if coaches can do that, therapists can't do that. But
you said it. That's what therapists can't do that because they have not gone there.
Right, they can't get deep with you. Never done it. And then TG said, I can relate to hopping from one thing to another. And when I found my true journey and focus on the things, started to come together and reaching my goal.
Yeah.
So
thank you for that.
It's good to see.
Yeah.
And then Danique said, being introspective and accountable for your life helps you to find solutions to most problems.
Yes.
I wish the UK is more accountable than the United States. I wish we were as accountable as you guys across the pond are. But with the formula, I want to make sure we dig into this a little bit. So you have a formula, the Fearless Warrior formula. Let's talk about that and what that means for people that are looking to kind of change their lives and what that actually means for them.
The Fearless Warrior formula. Let me tell you how that came across. It's a funny story. So I was coaching a client some time back, and she's like, oh, Veronica, I wish there was a formula. Just give me the formula to being fearless. I really want to step out there. And like in my head, I'm like, come on, it's no formula. Like, but I thought about it that whole week. And I'm like, fearless formula, warrior. Because I was all about the warrior then, fearless formula. Is there a formula? I'm like, wait a minute. My bloody life is a formula. I have been through stages. I have grown and I have come to a certain stage in my life. I'm always growing, of course. but I've grown from a certain point A to a certain point B. And there are steps, there are tools I needed to equip myself with. The first tool was to actually know who I was, my story. And that's why that is a module in the program. Knowing the truth of who you are, your warrior story, the deep source, the deepest, the dust that you have within yourself. And then what else did I need to do? I needed to have clarity on my tribe, who my tribe was. So that is another module. Finding your ideal tribe member. Who is that person? And you cannot do that if you don't know who you are. You can do that well. You can have a template, yeah? You could get a template, you can fill in my ideal client, blah, 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 blah. Yes, that's okay, cool. But if you don't go deep within yourself first and find out the truth of who you are really, then how can you find that ideal client? So they are all connected. And then in my journey, I remember, okay, so, but then how do I deliver that value? How do I deliver that that gift that I have to transform lives, to achieve goals, to manifest, to, make people and release that confidence and unleash that fearless warrior? I need to create a program, right? Mm-hmm. I needed to create a program. So, okay, Veronica, how do you create a program? Bloody hell, you've been a teacher for many years and you're asking me how do you create a program? I needed to, yeah, I'm like, so I had to, revisit my notes. I had to have all those notes from back then. I had to, there's a structure. Yes, you had to have the active learning objectives. You had to have the framework for it. You had to all these things. So I did that. So then I created my programs, right? And I created programs that I delivered before COVID in London, doing the workshops and all these things. So that's another tool, and that's part of the formula, having your weapon in the form of a program, an online program, a course, a package, something which is made up of you. But then, okay, you got a program, okay. But then how do you message that to millions? How do you message that to your people? Mm-hmm. Creation. So I needed to do that as well. And that's also part of the module, content creation. How do you call your warrior call? Right? How do you do that message? How do you create content and copies? And how do you create all that to really speak to the heart of your people? So can you see the stages? Can you see the formula? And then I'm like, okay. So I have people coming in, but Veronica, so how do you carry out these enrollment conversations? How do you really, because I was one of those, but there's sales, it's a bit salesy, but then the mindset shift. Why don't you inspire the sale? But there's a way of doing that, right? And that's why I came up with the 12 coaching question framework on how to have an enrollment conversation that inspires. There's a procedure to convert, somebody from a prospect into a client. So that's another tool that I needed. And that's what's part of the program as well. And then you have the ascension. That's module number 6, the ascension. Oh, do you know what? Self-sabotage is real.
Yes, 1,000,000%.
Listen, I've experienced this before. My clients have experienced this before. The coaches I know have experienced this before. When you're high, you have everything sorted. People are, asking you for coaching. You're getting clients. You're aligned. Finally, the floodgates have opened, and you're on the high. You're starting making your 5K months, and then your 10K months. Even I'm like, oh boy, is this real?
Right.
But this is not me. I've never done that before. I've never had 5K before. I've never, and I'm like, oh boy. What do they find out? The imposter syndrome comes in. Oh no. And then you shrink and you fall in, then, you have a problem with your husband or your partner, or something happens and you're like, oh, what was I ever trying to do? And then things go slow and you don't show up, and then you shrink yourself even more. Gosh, this is real. So the ascension, how to create the momentum of growth and avoid self-sabotage, because you will have the seasons. And how do you go through
definitely. that? COVID's a real season for all of us now.
Yes. So you see, Daryl, if you ask me about the Fearless Warrior formula, the formula is you, right? It's not a cookie cutter. It's not a template. It is you. And it's all about unleashing the Fearless Warrior so that she can serve, or he can serve more powerfully, with clarity, with focus. And what I call the turbo boosters. of your program. The turbo booster of your program is your story. The turbo booster of your program is your passion. The turbo booster of your program is your warrior call. Those are the turbo boosters. You got 3 turbo boosters because your program is just a vehicle. Let's be honest. It's just
True.
a vehicle. So you can have a vehicle and it's not going to move anywhere. It doesn't have those turbo boosters. So yes, it is all about creating an online presence and online having that freedom to work from all around the world and really just I can literally be in Ghana right now and be having this conversation. I was supposed to be in Ghana in March before COVID happened, and I'm like So creating that freedom, having that financial freedom, having that personal freedom, but also making a difference in the world globally. I'm all about impact. I'm all about inspiration. So in a nutshell, yes, that's what it is.
I like it. And Floyd had a thing to add to that. He said, as a fellow coach, I agree. Your ability to help others is definitely tied to how deep you've gone with yourself.
Yes, you know it.
Can't coach somebody if you haven't been there. Yeah, Catherine added to that. You can't coach what I do unless you have been in that space. I'm a confident woman.
Absolutely.
Marlon had a good question. He said, who's your tribe? That's a good question.
Yes. So my tribe are passionate service-based business owners. They are the ones, they're the servant leaders, they're the torch bearers. They're people who want to make a difference in the world. And they lack the clarity and the focus exactly on how to do that, how to show up. So my ideal client is that servant leader who wants to make a difference in the world. I work with coaches, I work with consultants, I work with book authors. And these are also creatives, those that have a talent, but then don't know how to package that. So for me, my ideal client are those that want to make a difference in the world. They're passionate, they're service-based, and they are the torch bearers. So what I'm doing really is creating this ripple effect. Because the truth is, I am not in front of them, nor am I behind them. We're in this together, right? You know what? And one thing that the people really fight with is the feeling of not being expert enough or the feeling of not being good enough. The truth is, your program, you have to be at least 10 or 20% ahead of your tribe. You don't have to be 100%. Listen, there's so much more I'm going to achieve here in this lifetime. I don't have to be there to be able to, bring somebody up. And that is a misconception. Like, you need to have it all sorted. You need to be at least 10 to 20% ahead of the game in what you want to solve and the issue that you want to deliver and the problem that you want to deliver.
That's attainable too. I mean, I'm glad you broke that down. That's attainable. I think a lot of people think I got to be the best in the world. But you just broke it down 10% better. I mean, it's just like going to the gym with somebody.
Yes.
If they can run a mile and you can only run a half a mile, you're good. They can show you, hey, you only do a half, I can do a full. That's interesting. And real quick, I want to catch up on a couple comments we had too. Tamara said, great formula. So Tamara likes your formula.
Thank you, Tamara.
And Danica is a screen filler here. She said, I gave up my therapist for a coach. Best decision I made because my therapist was like a gentle hug that enabled me to stay in my same mindset. But my coach was more like a priority list that helped me to take responsibility for developing my mindset.
Oh, beautiful.
She broke it all the way down.
Yeah. Yes. And listen, there is a space for everybody and there's a space for everything that we do. The therapist, there's a space for that, right? There's a space for coaching. There's a space for consultants. There's a space for it all. So
perfect. So one last thing I'll make sure we get into, you're doing virtual speaking, coaching. What would you say is your idea? You mentioned service-based businesses. Are you only working or primarily in the UK, or is it really anywhere you want to help somebody?
I'm an online coach, Daryl.
Anywhere. Just making sure people know.
I work with people from different continents. So I don't know. What's the question? Like,
you're up all day basically. I just want to make sure we know.
Oh yes. So my latest hour is like 10 p.m. UK time because it's 4 p.m. somebody's time. So yes. It does give you the flexibility because I have my mornings free with the kids, right? And then my afternoons for a bit of sessions, and then I have my evenings when the kids are sleeping. So it's all perfectly kind of sorted.
No, that's good. And then I want to make sure the warrior gets one more piece of the talking about the warrior. A lot of people think when you say that potentially that you're talking about a braggadocious, aggressive, killer kind of thing. So
Do I
you
look
mentioned
aggressive?
compassion. Huh?
Do I look aggressive? Do I look
No,
like
let's make sure people that pay attention to that, because I mean, when you say warrior, like a lot of yourself says
yes.
warrior, and they might think I got to be aggressive, I got to be powerful and strong in a different kind of way, like the sales
So
movies. And you mentioned salesy, so the warrior doesn't take that shape. So for the person that says I'm an introvert, I'm not outgoing, do they have a warrior in them too?
absolutely. So the warrior is an energy. Is an energy, and is an energy you step into, you tap into. It's a persona that you've given yourself that you can tap into, and when you tap into that energy, you are fearless, you are aligned. But the warrior, really, she's all about serving her tribe. So she comes from a space of love. She comes from a space of compassion. She is humbled because she knows that pain. She is truly humbled by the sufferings of her people. And I talk a lot about the tribe because, my late father is from the Ashanti region, and the Ashantis are one of the greatest tribes in Ghana. And, there's a lot of community togetherness, leveraging each other, growing together. So the warrior wants to grow with her tribe. She wants to say, come up. There's a better space. I've been there. It doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to take so long. Let's all come up. And she's together with them. She's pulling them up with her. She has to hold that space, but she knows how to because she's been there. And that's why I keep on stressing on that point of be going as deep as you have been. That's how deep you will take your tribe with you. And that's how deep they will go with you. And the deeper you go, the powerful you are. Oh, you've gone silent, Daryl. I can't hear you.
My mic was muted. Sorry about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my ideal client is Tupac, multidimensional, unintentional influencer. So Tupac, the holographic Tupac, wherever you are, the NEAT needs you as a client. And then Dr. Solomon, I don't know what your last name is. Dr. Solomon.
Africa. Hey, yes, I was there. I was giving a workshop for Scale Up Africa. It was one of Africa's very first business festival online. So yes, it was a privilege to take part in it.
Perfect. And TG said you look assertive.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. I'll take that because what is the opposite of assertive? It's aggressive, right? Right?
Maybe, yeah. That's probably an extreme version of it. Of assertive is aggressive.
Yes,
yeah.
Assertive is being firm. And the funny thing is, as a teacher, I have sometimes like when I'm talking with my sister, she's like, Veronica, why are you shouting? I'm like, am I shouting? But you see, the teacher, because the teacher is always up, she's always encouraging the kids. She's always there. She's with her children. She's with her students. And she's very animated with her expression. And that comes so naturally. So when you talk about assertive, the thing about being a teacher is that you can be stern. You can be firm. Mm. And when the need be, you can be very serious. So I can literally, if the need be, I can be assertive and I can stand my ground and I can speak with a very firm voice and I will be heard. So, yeah.
So assertive is a good, TG. And then just to end this out here, Danique said, very good interview. Well done, Veronica. Thank you for that, Danique. Oh, and TG said he's 20% Ghanaian genes. So
it's the same. What's the saying?
Got some family here on LinkedIn Live. So Veronica, just real quick, for people that want to learn more about your platform and the things you're doing, where should they go?
Yes, so of course, LinkedIn is my second home. So follow me on the hashtag VPower Coach. Let's connect. My website, of course, vpowercoaching.com. Right there. Oh, I love you, darling. It's like
boom.
vpowercoaching.com, but also the Fearless Warrior Formula is up and open. I'm looking for you. You need to rise up, you need to vibe up, you need to thrive, but you need focus, you need clarity, you need to have a truth of who you are. You need to know your ideal clients. You need to have the ability to cry the warrior call so that they hear you and they will come to you. So I'm here on LinkedIn, VPower Coaching. Yeah, if you go to my website or my profile, you see it all. I don't need to say it.
There you go. Well, thank you, Veronica, for making this happen. I appreciate you for jumping on here. Everybody, please be safe still. The
Yes.
virus is not gone, so please physically distance, wash your hands, and all that good stuff. And for my people in the U.S., early vote, early vote, early vote, early vote. I'm going to say that every day until November 3rd. Please early vote so we can make sure we get the change we need. But thank you guys for tuning in. And if you have someone that needs to get coaching help, tag them on this or share the post. That way they can see the wonderful work Veronica's doing and learn more about the Warrior Formula.